Hello, and welcome to Teacher Tidbits. I'm Lady Long, and today I'm super excited to share with you all some quick tidbits to help you with challenging behaviors. Are you a parent who is struggling with littles that have some challenging behaviors at home? You want to stick around to the entire end of this video. I'm gonna be showing you guys how to set some reward systems in place to get your littles on the right track to managing their own behaviors and modeling the behaviors that you want them to have in a fun, exciting, and rewarding way. Before we start the video, please make sure that you give this a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and share with your friends and loved ones. Let's get into the video. So today I'm going to be sharing with you 3 reward systems that you can set in place to help your littles get on the right track to modeling ideal or close to ideal behaviors. And so first I want to get into reward systems. What exactly am I talking about here? I'm talking about a system that you have in place where you are rewarding the child for exhibiting the right type of behavior. And I'm also going to get into reprimanding and not just rewarding as well. So the first thing is first, before we get into the 3 systems, I want to make sure that you all know when it comes down to challenging behaviors, you have to, 1, be consistent and persistent. So if your child is consistently exhibiting some challenging behaviors, you yourself want to be consistent with the systems that you have in place to reward them or reprimand them when those things are taking place. And you yourself want to be persistent. You want to keep at the system. You want to keep doing what's working. And you want to make sure that your child understands that this is what's going to happen every time the challenging behaviors take place. That way, the child can understand and know that you mean business. And these are things that I think can really help no matter if you have really young children like myself. I have a 2 and a 3-year-old, and it can follow you all the way up through the early teens and even teenage years if implemented and done correctly. So let's get into the tidbits. Reward system number 1 is just a simple verbal system. It's the system that most of us have in place as parents, and it's built on your trust. It's built on your word. So your child knows, okay, what you're saying is what you mean. And so a verbal system would just basically express, okay, if this is the type of behavior that's done, these are the rules. If this rule is broken, this is the reprimand for that rule. And so you set it in place. You say, this is what's going to happen if that rule is broken. But with the reward system, you want to focus on the positive. And that gives something for your child to look forward to. So oftentimes as parents, we may say, hey, don't break this rule. Don't do this. Don't. You're going to get in trouble. That's completely focusing on the negative. And so a lot of times children are so often used to hearing that it gives them nothing to look forward to. Okay, I'll get in trouble, but what I'm doing right now is fun. So they don't really have anything to kind of balance it out or to compare it to. That's why reward systems work, because they focus on the positive. So you say, if you model the right behavior, you're not focusing on the negative. This is the rule. If you achieve this rule, if you do this rule, then this is what you get. It's not focusing on the negative. It's saying this is what will happen if you do this. You're focusing on the positive. And it's just a simple verbal system. You tell them, hey, this is what you're going to get, and you follow through and you give them what is promised. So I'll give you guys an example. If I say, okay, to my 2-year-old and my 3-year-old, I use an example. My 3-year-old right now is just not the biggest fan of vegetables. So with the reward system, with the verbal system, we say, hey, here's your plate. If you eat your vegetables, this is what you get. It's an automatic reward. So oftentimes with us, because her, not wanting to eat vegetables is a little extreme, sometimes we have to separate things. So we often give her her vegetables first as the only thing on the plate. So we say, if you eat these string beans, once you're done, you'll get your steak or chicken or whatever it is that she really, really likes. And it's an immediate reward. It's something that she can, understand. And it's just verbal. And we're focusing on the reward. So instead of focusing on the negative, we're not saying if you don't eat your peas, then you won't get your chicken. We're saying if you do, we're focusing on the positive, then you will. And that is simple enough. Now moving on to the second system. It is taking it up just another level. So you are keeping your verbal word. You've already set your rules. You already set clear expectations. But now with the second system, you're adding visual aids. And so I'm going to show you guys here what I mean when I talk about visual aids. So here's a visual aid that many of us are familiar with. It is a simple sticker chart. And you see I have it labeled for both my girls, Soleil and Selah, on the side. And I have it from Monday through Friday. And this is one of the visual aids. So I gave it enough space. It's just the two of them, but I have it so that way if they receive multiple stickers throughout the day, I have the space for them to do that. Now this is on a very, like a canvas type paper, and I love using this. I actually found this at Michael's. You can order them all day long at Michael's. They come in a variety of colors, but I like using it because it's easy to peel the stickers off, so that way we can start over fresh for each week. And so how the sticker chart work is very simple. It goes with the same concept that we were talking about. You set the rules, you have the reward system in place, so that way they receive a sticker every time that they show or model the appropriate behavior. And so usually my girls get stickers after they have done with free play. And so they put away all their toys. They'll put a sticker here on their day. And then they also get a sticker multiple times throughout the day if they're just showing exemplary, behavior. So if they're sharing, if they're really thoughtful throughout the day, if they're doing things on their own and taking the initiative. And so this is a new sticker chart that we have started, and I actually started it today. It's a Wednesday. And so what I typically do is once it fills up, then I'll just, go ahead and painfully remove the stickers, but they come up fairly easily with this paper. And so that way they can just monitor their progress throughout the week, and they can see, this is the day that I had a lot of stickers. This is the day I didn't get any stickers, so forth and so on. And so you can have it where if maybe your child has to get 3 or 4 stickers throughout the day. And if they do, then they get a reward. Or what I love about the sticker chart is even with the older kids, all the way up through 6th grade or 2nd grade, whatever, you can do it throughout the week. So if they have a week of stickers, then they can get a reward. And when we're talking about rewards, it's very simple things, guys. I'm talking about in the classroom that would look like a special pencil or eraser, or maybe their own packet of stickers. It could be little bracelets or something like that. But if we're talking about at home, it can be their favorite snack. It can be them having extra time on their tablet, or it can be you doing something with them that they like to do. Maybe they've been trying to get you to watch one of their favorite shows or their favorite movie. Maybe they've been trying to get you to play along and play dress up or have a tea party. I have two little girls. And so, it's always a tea party. And so those are the type of things that can be a reward. And you would be shocked how well your children will behave for just that quality time. And if you have multiple children like I do, that can even be a part of the reward where they get each an hour to themselves alone with mommy or alone with daddy, just doing something that they want to do. And so that might work better for you, at the end of the week on a Saturday or so forth and so on. Because we might not be able to set aside 2 hours every single night. So what I do currently now with my 2 and 3-year-old is that at the end of the day, for their good behavior, they each receive a special snack, a special treat that's outside of their normal snack. And that is something that has really been driving them, and it's really been working for us. And so there you have it. This is a visual aid. Now, your sticker chart or a visual aid does not have to be exactly like mine, but this is just a basic one to show you guys what to do and how to get started. Now, if you're talking about the older children, once we get into junior high school, you may not have stickers, but you can still have some sort of visual aid for that child. You can give them some type of visual aid or reward system if they are doing things, taking their own initiative, if they're completing their chores on their own. A lot of times people have an allowance system where it's the same type of concept where you are giving them a reward. In this case, we're talking about money, but they can add that monetary amount to it and understand. But when you're talking about outside of allowance, just doing chores, if you want your child to exhibit, the ideal behaviors, you can have a system in place for your preteens and your teenagers for exhibiting, characteristics that you really like. Maybe they thought about you, or they thought about their siblings, or they came out and they were participating in the family, night of games, something that they normally wouldn't do, but they're doing it. They're participating with some family activities, and they're not being selfish. They're exhibiting that they have team spirit, they're being a team player. Or maybe they just were really kind that day and you notice that. You can set this up where you can have a reward system in place for every single time that you see something that they've done that you like. And so a great way to do this with your preteens or teenagers, you can set up, with the young ones, we have a kind hands, but you can set up a kindness jar. So now you have a clear jar where they can visibly see. And now you're acknowledging them when you're saying, you know what, I'm not focusing on the negative. Oftentimes, us as parents, we see the things that they do in a positive, but sometimes we don't speak up unless we see something negative. Oh, you lied. Oh, I can't trust you. Oh, you snuck out. Those are all focusing on the negative. But you can have a kindness jar where you say, you drop a little note in there. They come out there. It could be outside their room, or maybe it could be somewhere where it's right by the door. Or maybe you can even have it on the door where you have a little notepad and you write to each other. And the siblings can get on it. They can do it for each other. And so every time someone does something that another person in the family noticed, they can write to them and say, I noticed that you thought about your sister today. She really needed you and you were there for her. I really, really appreciated that. I really like that quality about you. You just drop it in the kindness jar. And now your preteen is saying, wow, my mom, my dad really took a notice to what it is that I'm doing. And you're focusing on the positive attributes of their character. And believe it or not, that will make them want to exhibit more of those characteristics. What we focus on the most is what those children will exhibit the most. So if we're constantly focusing on negative and the negative attributes, the negative that they're doing, we're going to see more of that. It's just a subconscious part of our human nature. The more that we focus on, or what we're focusing on, will begin to enlarge or increase. And so that can be a great way to work on building the characteristics in your preteens and teenagers. A great reward system to put in place. And maybe at the end of the week or at the end of the month, if their kindness jar is filled, or maybe you can have marks on it, halfway full, quarter filled, 75% filled, or, fully filled, then they have different rewards. But once the jar is filled, you can take them, you can do something with them that they really, really enjoy, really like. And that could be a great way to focus on the positive and a great reward system to have for your littles that are not so little. The third and final reward system that I want to talk to you guys about is really just taking it up to the third level, taking it up a notch. So you have the visual aids, we're talking about the rewards, but once you couple now the rewards with a consequence, this is where you have the best results. And so with the reward system, again, you're still focusing on the positives, but once you add a consequence to it, I have found that that's where I get my best results. So again, you don't want to just focus on the negative, because that creates a person who, subconsciously they keep hearing the negative that they're doing. Now they're focusing only on the negative that they're doing, and it increases that negative behavior. But on the other end, if we just focus on the positive, if we just focus on the rewards, it can have the extreme effect. And so you don't want to have a child just focus on the negative, because that can create just a hostile environment. But if you're just focusing on the reward, it can also create the opposite effect, where the child can, feel entitled, or we don't want to spoil the child. We want to have a good balance. What I mean by that is sometimes as a parent, we can have the opposite effect, where we're saying just the reward. Okay, little Susie, if you do this, you can go outside and play. If you do this, you can go outside and play. Well, maybe the child, that's not a reward. Maybe the child, doesn't want to play, or maybe, they don't have anything to balance it out. They don't have anything to compare it. Okay, if I do this, I can come around to that eventually. At any point, I know if I do this for mom or dad, that I'm going to be rewarded. No matter, how many times mom had to say it or repeat herself, so forth and so on. So you want to have a balance there. And so you do want to have some type of consequence, but still focusing on the positive. So with the reward system, what would that look like? That would look like this. Okay, little Susie, this is what I want you to do. I want you to clean up your room. If you clean up your room, then we can go outside and play. If you do not clean up your room, then you will not have screen time. See? You see what I did there? So I'm not focusing on what she won't do, but I'm letting her know if she doesn't do it, this is what's going to follow. But if she does do it, then there's still a reward. And so I'm also going to show you guys this great reward system that I had in place. I've done it for years in my classroom, and now I'm doing it at home with my 3 and 2-year-old, and it is incredible. Okay, you guys, so here we are taking it up to the third level of reward systems. We are taking it up a notch. And this is something that I refer to as go green in my classroom. But here with my 2 and 3 year old, I simply say stay on green. And this is the visual aids that we were speaking of before, but it is taking it up another level. And so if you want to implement something like this, it is super effective and it's super easy to do. So let me go ahead and show you guys the logistics of how everything works and how I made this. I'll start off by showing you how I made it. It's simple cardboard that I had from boxes. I can't tell you what type of box, but I simply made a circle, 3 of them, and I have here some string, some twine, and I simply use actually a pin to create holes at the top and bottom, except for the last circle. You only need a hole at the top. And so I have them. They are primary colors, recognizable colors that we associate with things like go, slow down, and stop. And so the top is green, the middle is yellow, and you see our sad guy here is red. Okay, so for now, I want to get into the logistics of how I actually set this up, and then 2, how it works and why it works. So you see here, I just used some simple cardboard and some string or some twine. And so I have 3 circles that I cut out. In each circle, I use a simple ballpoint pen to make holes at the top and bottom for the first and second circle. But on the third circle, you only need 1 hole because it's only going through the top. Then I'll use some string to kind of lace it together, loop it at the top to hang it or push pin it. And there you have it. And I've colored them green, yellow, and red because these are colors that are easily identifiable and we already associate them with particular things. You know, green means go, yellow means get ready or get prepared for something, and red means stop. Okay, and so I also use these simple clothespins with my girls' names on them. And because they're still quite young, 2 and 3, and they don't know how to read just yet, to make sure that it's easily identifiable, I've also pasted just a simple photograph of their faces. And so on this visual aid, I love it because with the clothespins, it is hands-on. It's something that the girls can get involved in themselves. And this is how it works. And so you notice that there is not a progression, but rather a degression. And so everyone starts out on green. Green is where you want to go. Green is where you want to stay. Okay, so every day is a new day. Everyone starts out on green. As they continue to make ideal behavioral choices, if they are making the right choices, if they're exhibiting the right behavior throughout the day, they get to stay on green. But if they are making the wrong choices throughout the day, then they go down. The first level is yellow, okay? And so the child would take their pen, their self, and put it down. And so they're not only being held accountable, but they're being a part of the process, and they are able to visually see the progression or the degression. And so this is just a warning, okay? And so if they continue to make the right choices, they stay on green. But if they're on yellow and they continue to make the wrong choices, it goes all the way down to red, okay? And so how I have it set up is it's all about how they end the day. What I love about this is, yes, they work their way down, but they can also redeem themselves and always work their way back up. And so here you're focusing on the reward. You're focusing on the good behavior. Even if they're making the right choices and they're not moving their pen throughout the day, I'll have them I'll still give them praises throughout the day. I'll have them go and check. Oh, you guys were still making the right choices. To the let's go to the chart and let's see. Is your name still on green? Yes, they get excited. And sometimes you might have a child whose name is not on green, and that will remind them, oh, okay, my name is on red, or my name is on yellow. I need to now make right choices so I can get to green. And it's focusing on the reward still, because at the end of the day, your name is on green, you can get a reward. And so right now it's the same thing that I have with my sticker chart. Right now, my girls, if they end their day on green and they have their stickers, then they receive a special treat. And I let them choose their special treat. Sometimes it's chocolate, sometimes it's a piece of candy. But for right now, that is what's working for us. Again, my children are rather small. They are 2 and 3, and so they're happy with just a cookie or like a simple snack. But it'll also progress the rewards. Those things will change. And so I also have some games on their tablets. They can get extra screen time. Whatever those rewards may be, you have to custom fit it to your child. You have to make the rewards worthwhile for your children. Okay, so that can be anything that your child is interested in. That can be just what your rewards are. Now, also, I want to say this. Right now, I have it so if the child ends the day on yellow or red, they do not receive a reward. And then you can also set some penalties in place. So just like we have some rewards if you end the day on green, there can be a penalty for if you end the day on red. Okay. And so that way they're doing it themselves. They're visually seeing their progression throughout the day, and they are able to take accountability and responsibility for their actions. So if you go and you give one child their reward and the other one is, a little bit upset, you can ask them and have those conversations. Well, you're upset, but did you end the day on green? No, I ended the day on yellow, or I ended the day on red. And so you can reinforce that, when we're not making the right choices and we end the day on red or yellow, then we don't get the reward, or we, have to deal with the consequences, whatever penalty you have in place. Now, for the reward system right now, I just so have it, because again, my children are young. I just so have it where if you end the day on yellow or red, you just won't receive the reward, because that is penalty enough for them. They really don't like for one to get something and the other to be excluded. But as they get older themselves, they will have to also deal with the consequences, and that can be reinforced at the end of the day. This is why you are receiving this certain consequence, and those things can look like, the other person during their time where they're receiving their reward for being on green, the other child can then have some time. Now, this is what I'm talking about specifically for you guys at home. This will not work for the classroom. But at home, they can be dealing with their consequences. Maybe it's something that they have to do, or maybe it's a particular chore that they didn't finish. Now, I want to say this. You want your rewards and your consequences to be something that you can complete that day before they go to bed. You don't want to give your child a penalty on Wednesday for something that they did on Tuesday, because each day we're starting over fresh. We're starting something new, and everyone gets a brand new start every day. And so that is something you want to keep in mind. If you're going to give a reward or you're going to give a penalty, it has to be something that you can implement that day before they rest their heads. Okay. Now what I also love about this system, you have a child that says, you know what, I want to turn this thing around. So it's midday and they are all the way on red. Maybe they had a really rough morning. Maybe they were having a fit, a tizzy, tantrum, whatever it is. And they are now on red, but it's midday. And they've decided, I'm going to turn this thing around. I want to end the day on green. As they are beginning to exemplify the I do behaviors, they work their way back up. And so it again focuses on the positives. And that also gives them a chance to redeem themselves, and also for us to practice forgiveness and mercy as parents and caregivers. So you don't want to penalize the child for what they did in the morning, in the afternoon. If they are, maybe they were just having a rough morning. If they are having better times in the afternoon, do you want to acknowledge that? Because this is all about paying close attention to the positives. We're not going to feed into the negative, because the more that you focus on their negative behaviors, you acknowledge it by having them place their, pen on the right slot. You're saying this is what you're doing, but you don't want to feed into it. You don't want to just focus on the negative, because the more you focus on their negative behavior, the more that it's going to increase, because that's all that's being focused on. But children are typically attention driven. And so if you're paying attention to their ideal behavior, they're more than likely going, as coupled with the rewards, they're more than likely going to fall in line and say, you know what, I'm going to turn this thing around. And so that's why you want to make sure that you follow through. It's got to be that same day. If they end on red or yellow, they get that penalty. Now in the classroom, you can't impose a penalty, but you don't have to give them a reward. They don't have to receive a reward like everyone else. So that is penalty enough, I know, for my girls. So that can be implemented in the classroom, but at home, you can couple it with a penalty. And so you have to follow through, and they'll notice, okay, it is Wednesday, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I've been getting a penalty because I've been on yellow and red, and my sister and brother's been on green. They've been getting the reward. I want to get the reward. So if they've had a rough morning, they move down, but in the afternoon, they get a fresh start. They can work their way up. Now, again, for my parents, you guys know your children. For me, the end of my day is when school is completed. So we really don't have to, if they've been on green by the time it's like 3:00, then they can receive their special treat. But you can have this with your children all night. It can end until after dinner, or, right up until bedtime, wherever that is, so that way you can ensure, okay, they're not just trying to abuse the system. You get their snack, and then after they get their reward or treat, then they go back to the less than ideal behavior. This can be implemented throughout the day. This can be in their bedrooms, so forth and so on. But it's only going to work if you are following through. As soon as they exhibit that less than ideal behavior, that challenging behavior, you have them digress. You have them put it down, okay? They put it down. And when they are doing things that are ideal behaviors, then they move up. And they'll notice, okay, my mom, my dad, they are seeing my good behaviors, and they're actually acknowledging it. So now I get to move back up. And there you have it. Their goals will be to end on green, because they have something to look forward to. They're getting positive acknowledgement and recognition throughout the day. Even if your child, like my children, they are mostly on green throughout the day, but throughout the day, I'm still recognizing that you girls are still on green. That means you've been making good choices all day long. Give me high five, or I'll give them an extra sticker, or give me a hug. I'm so proud of you. You've been making good choices all day long. So you don't want to ignore those children who continue to make good choices. And so it's just a win-win all around. And this is something that I have been doing for years, and it works. It works. So I hope that this was able to help you all who are watching. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned next week for another video to help you all as you are transitioning in your homeschools and we're getting through this quarantine together. Hope that this was helpful. This is Lady Long with Teacher Tidbits. Happy learning.